This video is about multiplying polynomials. So we've seen before how we can add and subtract polynomials. We can also multiply them. So we also have to employ some exponent rules and laws in this as well. So my first big rule here is if I have a binomial times a binomial, so a two-term polynomial times a two-term polynomial, this is where you have to use binomial. Oops. So this is where you have to use FOIL. So you might remember this acronym from school that stands for first, outside, inside, last. But that only works if you have a binomial times a binomial. So if I look at my first example, I do have a binomial times a binomial. So I have two terms in this one and two terms in this one. So I'm using this FOIL rule. So I want to multiply the first terms together first. So 2x times x, that will be 2x squared. So first and then outside terms are 2x times negative 5, so that will give me negative 10x. And then inside terms are 3 and x, so 3 times x would be 3x. And then last term, will be 3 times negative 5, so that will be negative 15. Okay, so that's how I multiply a binomial times a binomial, and then I just want to finish it off by collecting any like terms that I see in there. So I do have a negative 10x and a positive 3x, so I can bring those together. So I have 2x squared minus 7x minus 15. Okay, so that would be that product there. Let's look at another example. In this one I have a trinomial times a binomial, so it's not quite FOIL, but I just have to remember to multiply every term in the first polynomial by every term in the second one. So I have to multiply the 3x squared by the x and the negative 6, and then I'll have to do the same thing with the x from this one, multiply it by both those, and then the 1. Okay, so if I have 3x squared times x, I'm going to get 3x cubed. 3x squared times negative 6 will be negative 18x squared. And then I have x times x is plus x squared. Remember the exponents there on those x's is 1, so that's why I'm adding them together. And then I have x times negative 6 is negative 6x. Then I have 1 times x is x. And then 1 times negative 6 is negative 6. So you should count up that you have 6 terms when you've multiplied this out. And now we just have to collect like terms to finish it off. So I have x squareds and I have x's that I can bring together. So when I simplify this a bit further, I have 3x cubed minus 17x squared minus 5x minus 6. Okay. In the next example, I have a binomial times a binomial. So I'm going to use FOIL. So multiplying 2x by x squared, I have 2x cubed, remembering that there's an invisible 1 there, and I add those exponents together. So 2x cubed plus 2x minus 5x squared minus 5. Okay, I have no like terms in this, so I can't bring anything together. However, I'm going to reorder it so that I have my terms in descending order of power. So I have 2x cubed minus 5x squared plus 2x minus 5. Okay, and then one last example. So this one often will trip people up if you have x minus 4 to the squared or some binomial squared. You might be tempted to just square each term in the binomial, but that's not correct, because you have to remember that it's the same thing as saying x minus 4 times x minus 4. Okay, so we have to use the FOIL rule on it, and we're going to get those 4 terms, which will simplify down into 3 terms afterwards. So if I multiply x by x, I get x squared. Then I'll have minus 4x, minus 4x again, and then plus 16. Okay, and bringing together the 2 minus 4x's, I have x squared minus 8x plus 16. Okay, so that's what that multiplies into. So make sure that if you ever see something like this, that you rewrite as the binomial or whatever the polynomial is times itself and multiply that out. Okay, that's it. Good luck with the assignments.